Hello, sixth episode, Road to Superbowl, season number 2, New York football team Giants, episode number 6. So, will this be a success story for the Giants? How did they do in the offseason, mainly in the draft? And what their roster looks like? That's and more you will find out in the next 30 to 50 minutes, give or take how much I will enjoy talking about this team. So, first of all, thank you HBO, thank you NFL, thank you Giants. HBO front office, something I really enjoyed. I hope they will follow up on this next year, perhaps even sometime, perhaps even some look in some teams, during the season, like for example during trade deadline. I'm super happy that they've managed to pull such a format and I feel like it was a success. Hopefully it will continue. Though I would enjoy some teams more than I did enjoy Giants. For example, Vikings. I would really like to take a look at what they've done this offseason and how they were not planning to draft a QB. I really enjoyed Giants as well. So with no further ado, let's take a look at their draft, shall we? So first of all, they started with Malik Neighbors, and there was a talk, and you've seen it with Hard Knocks, that they would be trading up to get their QB for the future. And to me, it never felt right. It never felt like something they would do, and it never felt like something they should be doing. First of all, you want your starting QB or your future QB to have somebody to throw the ball to, and they kind of didn't have that before my neighbors. Like no one that you are super excited to throw to. So when that's the case, I feel like you should really be starting to put bodies into that room to set up that situation for your future QB. Especially when, in order to get one, you would have to most likely sacrifice a lot of assets. So with that in mind, with last season kind of being real disappointment, with Daniel Jones' contract, the way it's structured, that you really don't have a nice way out before 2 seasons from now, or at least this season, you are stuck with Daniel Jones. I was never a buyer for the story, and I feel like the fact that they were able to stay put and get Mike Neighbors no matter what they wanted. Perhaps there were some trading scenarios, but they were denied or declined. I feel like the things got really nice for them, because Mike Neighbors is a guy that you can build your offense around, is a guy that in a normal draft would be number 1 wide receiver off the board. This year he just had this one problem named Marvin Harrison that to me is just a step above Mike Neighbors, but he is still really exceptional player. He immediately steps up as this team's best wide receiver and someone that maybe with Daniel Jones can develop a chemistry, and Daniel Jones can prove that he is a starting QB in this league, which is a narrative that is not necessarily very popular out there, but definitely something I believe is true. So really like this pick. For better or worse, it happened that they did not move anywhere within the draft, and getting my neighbors, I think it's an absolute blessing for them. Then with their second pick, I am much more down on Tyler Nubin than I would say the general public is, which you can kind of see in the grade that is mine, and this is what I think general public, when I combine ESPN grades, some other people talking about the draft. I try to mesh what I figured out and put it as a general grade. Why I'm lower on this one? It's the safety market. I feel like it's the position right now that is not necessarily the most valued in the league, and I understand that you needed to address it when you will say Bear McKinney, but Tyler Nubin to me is a 3rd round player, not a 2nd round, and you are overdrafting a guy for a position that's not like the biggest position of value in NFL. So I am slightly less concerned when you are overdrafting QB, obviously, when you are overdrafting like offensive lineman or like cornerback with super potential. But with safety, I have a bit of a problem. Overall, like Tyler Rubin, I think is a fine prospect, is a position of need for this team, but bit too early for me. Drew Phillips, nice pickup. I think he has a chance to fight for starting position. I just don't see him being like a value. I think he's a position of need. I think he's a nice player. He was picked just as he should be. Like, that's where my B says everything is just as it should be. Nothing bad, nothing exceptional about this guy and this draft pick. Then, like their later picks, I was lower on Theo Johnson. As you can see, my C draft grade, and also on Tyron Tracy. Why? Because I put these grades out there after the draft, like immediately. I have not changed them or did not change them very much till now, because I wanted to give you guys my real draft grades. I would be making in the future, hopefully, draft videos, but this year it was just impossible given some unfortunate circumstances in my life. Not circumcision, it was circumstances. Okay, sorry, still not my primary language. So one, when I would definitely go higher on Theo Johnson is they probably knew right about the draft time that Darren Waller might have his head on some other projects than NFL is. Good luck with your singer career, but yeah, Darren Waller was always a bit of interesting personality. Let's put it this way. So because of that, he now is much more of a position of need. Is he prepared to enter the NFL? Probably not, but he kind of will have to, and he's just going to be thrown out there to swim. And because of Darren Waller, I kind of understand why he's done it. So it would be like B- right now. Still, I think he was a bit overdrafted. The same I would say for Tyron Tracy, but with them really not going about running back market like, yeah, we found our guy in Devin Singletary, he's supposed to give us like 85% of Saquon Barkley, and we are not going to bring another running back into the room. We want to give chance to our young guys. So Tyron Tracy, I do not mind. Still a little bit early, but really no problem with this draft. After all, Darius Masal, nothing really interesting to say. Later in the draft process, I decided that, guys, I don't have really interesting opinions, like post round 6. I will not be ranking because, let's face it, I have not like watched them super carefully to be super knowledgeable about them. So now we talk about the guy responsible for this offense, and that's head coach Brian Daboll. Here I rank him by his offensive prowess, not as a head coach, and I think by his offensive prowess he's an A-. He's really amazing offensive mind, able to take mediocre roster in a way and win a playoff game year before. And last year, yeah, it was ugly, but let's not forget his franchise left tackle was injured for several games. Then his franchise QB Daniel Jones was also injured for like 10 games. So it's hard to put up great numbers when this happens and you really don't have much to work with. That is still the case for this team, despite Daniel Jones being back. Despite Mike Neighbors, I still feel like the weaponry, which I divide by passing and running, is really not something you write home about. And of course, you've lost your best player for this part, and that's Saquon Barkley. In terms of O-line, they are divided by pass blocking and run blocking abilities. Really polarizing conversation. I think one of the ones that will definitely tell us a lot about where the season is heading for the Giants. So let's take a look at their quarterback room, okay? So we start with Daniel Jones, who is coming back after injury. I'm like filming this post his first reps in preseason that did not look great. He already threw 2 interceptions, which kind of follows up on his really bad performance that he had early last year before he got injured. There's going to be a lot of pressure by the fans for Daniel Jones to perform, and I think he's on a very short leash before the fans really turn on him. I think he's really close to that. I feel like undeservedly so, because the hate towards him is because of the contract. Like, he was not the one that gave himself the contract. Like, he accepted it or like fought for it, and it's not his fault that they gave him stupid amount of money. It's not really his fault, right? So, as much as I understand why fans are not happy with Daniel Jones, I feel like he is 23rd, 24th best QB in the league. Probably going to end up more down in terms of pecking order because of some young talents that enters the league. But still, he is a starter in this league. It's not like Tommy DeVito is a better player. Like, that's just a false narrative. I understand it's a really nice story. That's a guy that it's a local kid kind of brought from the street, and it was a really fun experience. Probably the most fun Giants had since beating Vikings in the playoffs. But still, this guy is was who he was before he was brought to try to play for a reason. Like, he could carve up a really nice backup role for him in the NFL. But even the fact that they brought Drew Lock here to this room kind of says, yeah, like, we have perhaps more rational opinion on Tommy DeVito than our fans, because they kind of brought Drew Lock to compete with him for that backup role, and perhaps if Daniel Jones struggles or cannot recover in time from the injury, which now we know he can maybe get John out there and just take a look what we have in Drew Lock. Overall, this is really not a nice room. As much as I will apologize a bit for Daniel Jones, this is a problem. Like, his contract is a problem, and this room is just nothing to elevate. In terms of passing game, one of the worst room in the league. Obviously, Daniel Jones makes up for it with his running skills. Who he has to throw to? Well, before that, we will take a look at running backs that could run with him. So we start with Devin Singletary. I am a huge fan of this guy. I really like his hard work mentality. He kind of comes from nothing in terms of like draft pedigree. He had to earn his way for the money, for the contract. It's finally that he has long-term contract in the NFL. I wish him the best, but he is going to be still one of the worst starting running backs in the league. I wish him the best, but that's the truth. And the guys behind him, Eric Gray, like, no, and Tyron Tracy, hope. So really, you have 22nd best starting running back and one of the worst backup rooms in the league. So this running game is really lifted by Daniel Jones. Without him, this would be a huge concern for this team. Right now, it's not a strength, but it should not be like a huge weakness. And I say that still with really a lot positive thinking that I have towards Devin Singletary. Now, the actual wide receivers. And the conversation here is slightly boring, let's be honest, because there is just no upside behind the Malik Neighbors. So Malik Neighbors should immediately step up as this team number one guy. Hope that he will develop into amazing starter. Can he ever be elite? Like, anybody can, but is it likely for Malik? I think his ceiling is amazing starter, which they would absolutely take. He's probably their best wide receiver like since Odell Beckham trade, something like that. That's really insane that it took so long for Giants to actually get really good wide receiver, because behind him Darius Slayton, Vandal Robinson, Jalen Hyatt, Allen Robinson, Isaiah McKenzie. Like those are all the guys that are there, that will do their job, but they are all bunch of threes, bunch of fours, guys that won't be a strength of your team. They will, like I said, they will do what you ask them to do on like some 80% of level that really you want your number 2, number 3s to do. So they will do something, but is there like even potential? Like perhaps with Jalen Hyatt, you hope that it clicks for him, but is it likely? No. And you kind of have guys who are who they are. Like, what should I be excited about? You know, this is really room, my neighbors, and bunch of pieces that are going to look better than they are because of Brian Dable. But it's really his masterpiece that he can use them, and that's kind of why when you don't have a chance to really get yourself like really good player, that's where like the brilliance of coaching mind like Brian Dable has kind of steps up, and he says, okay, I cannot get myself hand on some premier talent beside my neighbors. Let's give me 5 players that are kind of there. They are reasonably cheap, or perhaps like still rookie contract, and I will find the best utilization for them. So they will look like a decent starter, though they should be good backups that occasionally will look like good starters when they are just decent starters. So that's where Brian Dable, I think, really can elevate this room, but it's still really poor room, though with a lot of bodies that can play. Everything just stands on how good can Malik Neighbors be. When we talk about tight ends, retiring of Darren Waller just a year after you acquire him is definitely a huge blow for this team. I don't think they were ready. They tried to be slightly ready with Theo Johnson, but Daniel Bellinger as your number 1 tight end is like, okay. Well, I think you are competing with like Commanders for the worst tight end room in the league. The good thing is, you are probably treating this year as show me the money, show me what you can do. And Daniel Bellinger in his second year and Theo Johnson in his first are going to be given a lot of opportunities. So if the talent is out there, I trust that Brian Dable can use them, and I kind of trust Daniel Jones to be able to just not screw them up in terms of like not being able to give them or throw them the ball. That's still one of the worst tight end rooms in the league, easily. But can develop. So definitely in a year when you are not having like a huge expectations, you can, I guess, afford this type of a room. Then let's talk about this offensive line, and where should we start? I think we should start with Andrew Thomas, their by far best offensive lineman, guy that's really close to that elite starter status. What for me just still kept him as that amazing one was when he was out there last year, he looked slightly worse than he looked the years before. And he was injured last year, so if he comes back healthy, if he's healthy for the start of the season and he shows to play more of like 2022 level, I think the, let's say, grade up should not take long for him, at least for my eyes. And then you have brought German Illuminor, who came with Carmen Brasillo from the Raiders, and he would be really like good enough right tackle if he was to start there, but the plan is not there. The plan is to start Evan Neal there, And the reason behind it is Evan Neal is former, I believe, pick number 4 that obviously Giants invested heavily in. And so far he returned like negative on this investment. Like he has been piss poor. He was benched last year. They improved after he got benched, despite like really guys that replaced him were like, you know, picked up from the street. So right now it's like Carmen Bricillo, whole season, hopefully healthy. Next to him there should be better guard play. Can Evan Neal figure it out? Can he at least become a good starter? Or is he going to evaporate from kind of scene of the earth in terms of NFL as absolute bust, and we might not see him post this season in any starting job ever, obviously for NFL. I think that the second is most likely the case for Evan Neal, but I definitely do understand why they will try this. And what this does for GMaty-NFL, it shifts him to left guard, where he is more just a good backup, because it's really like a big change from right tackle to left guard. He didn't play that much of a guard, so I do have questions about that move as well. I understand why I tried, but the percentage that is going to work is not the biggest. It's definitely not over 50% that GMaty-NFL will work as left guard as good as he would as right tackle, and Evan Neal actually emerges as decent enough right tackle. Then you go inside, where they have brought Joe Runyan, technically sound guy that just doesn't have power to generate anything in terms of push for run. He is who he is. He gives you grown up in the room. He gives you decent enough pass protection. It's better than what they had last year. I understand why they brought him. He's from what I heard, really good guy to have in the locker room. So definitely an upgrade from last year, but not the guy that you point out. And yeah, this is our strength. Aaron Steeney, he played last year. Yeah, he played. He should not be playing. He is a backup, and you just hope he won't necessarily have to, because I feel like if Evan Neal sucks, which we will kind of know for sure in like week 3, week 4, Aaron Steeney would probably slide left guard and GMaty-NFL would go to right tackle. John Michael Schmidt's center last year, he was touted as kind of bulletproof center prospect that was gonna come in and is gonna be really good from the start, and he just wasn't. Sometimes you are wrong about who do you think you are drafting, and sometimes the circumstances play a really big role. I think in this case, I hope it's like the split is 20 to 80. 20 is like, yeah, he was overhyped in terms of his draft profile, but 80% is like he had like 8 guards next to him last year that all were kind of poor, didn't have Andrew Thomas for some time, and had Tommy DeVito behind him and Tyrod Taylor. Like, there was not much to work with for John Michael Schmidt, but he is another huge wildcard for this offensive line. If John Michael Schmidt and Evan Neal somehow can be what their draft profile predicted them that they could, if they reach like 80% of the upside that they had like written of their draft card, we're talking about top 10 offensive line. But more likely scenario is at least one of them, and you cannot definitely rule out that both will suck. And in that case, this is really bad online. So it's really a huge flip of a coin in a year when you don't necessarily like pushing for it. You can take this swing, and we will see what happens. So that's your offense for the Giants. Really nothing to talk about. Mediocre overall. Lifted up with Brian Daboll, and there are some things you can be excited, or at least you can hope that they will flip the coin well, but it can look ugly if the tail comes with that flip of a coin. How does a defense look like for the Giants? It's led by Shane Bowen, who kind of to me looks like Matt Eberflus for some reason. Yeah, I just see a bit of Matt Eberflus in there. I don't see that in his defensive prowess. I feel like he is one of the worst defensive coordinators in the league. I'm not necessarily saying he is a problem or liability. I just don't think he elevates this room. And truth to be told, I don't see necessarily the upside that I have with, like similar grade with Jesse Minter. I do expect Jesse Minter to end the year with like B- to B grade. I do not expect that with Shane Bowen. So what he has to work with, it's really two rooms. It's really interesting defensive line and linebackers, and it's dreadful secondary. So let's take a look, right? We start with defensive line, we start with good. Start with edge pieces. They acquired Brian Burns, aka Spider-Man. Like this trade, I like that you say, well, this is our identity. This defensive line is going to be our identity. We invest heavily into this. We will try to kick some asses. We will try to be really nasty in terms of our D-line. And that's how we will try to re-establish the culture in this team. And I like that. Though Brian Burns doesn't come with what's the word? Like doesn't come with necessarily an exceptional talent. Like he is in that category of like Montez Sweat, of like the tier 2 to tier 2.5 type of edge players that maybe are a bit viewed as a bit more because of a cool nickname, because of how they were used. But to me, he is impactful starter. He is not amazing. He can reach that status, and I'm really interested to see him in this defensive line because I think with his acquisition, it just absolutely makes sense what they have, because this one makes Kayvon Thibodeau a guy that you won't be able to double because you have to take care of Brian Burns because he's going to be a threat, and then you kind of have to double Dexter Lawrence. That should leave Kayvon Thibodeau on an island much more than you would like to, and sometimes even Brian Burns will get his one-on-one reps much more than he perhaps did in Carolina. So if these two guys, and that's definitely a potential outcome, can win their 1v1 reps, this D-line is gonna break some necks, no, but break some game plans, ruin offensive plans for a lot of teams. So I hope I can see that because I really liked what they have done. I think it makes total sense. Also, Kayvon Thibodeau has kind of similar like journey to NFL, perhaps some mentality thing that he doesn't seem like he learns that quickly, which is something that Brian Burns also was like, is he working the hardest, like off field? Perhaps it's something that Kayvon Thibodeau is also called upon, so they could use Brian Burns as a mentor, and then they have this guy. They have Dexter Lawrence that I just cannot praise enough. I think that if he played for any of 20 teams that you actually watch and not the Giants, he would be in the conversation for Defensive Player of the Year. He is insane. In my eyes, he's definitely the best defensive tackle when Aaron Donald retired. I know his numbers are not like 26, anything, but he is defensive tackle. He doesn't play from the edge. And most of the snaps, he is double teamed because you need to double team Dexter Lawrence. And when that's going to be the reality for these two guys, there just is going to be a lot of math problems for the other teams. Like, good luck, Cornelius Lucas and like Washington offensive line handling this. Good freaking luck. this could be very interesting. It good things with the edge doesn't really necessarily stop with Kevin Thibodeau, because you have Aziz Ojulari, you have Boogie Basham, really guys that complement each other in that like number 3 role. As backups, that's exactly what you want. So this is one of the best constructed edge room to have. And then you have this monster for interior. So if you just had nice enough pieces next to Dexter Lawrence, you would be talking about perhaps the best defensive line in football. The problem is you don't. Dexter Lawrence is kind of on an island. When we talked about Montez Sweat in Bears, kind of really anyone but him needs to step up. With Dexter Lawrence and this defensive tackle crew, it's even like biggest gap. Like Raheem Nunez-Roches, he's really freaking close to just be a good backup. Jordan Phillip, DJ Davidson, like this is Mountain Kloof of meh. Like, yeah, they should not be starters next to Dexter Lawrence. Like, I was actually in some of my wild dream draft scenarios thinking about Giants like trading down and acquiring someone like Byron Murphy. Is it good way to win games? Is it good way to make Brian Daboll happy and stuff? No. But I would just want to see that, man. Like, I would want to see Brian Burns, Kevin Thibodeau, Byron Murphy and Dexter Lawrence just together, and good luck to the offensive lines. Unfortunately, that's not the case. It was a wild dream. Could have happened? Perhaps. I think there was enough wide receiver talent that, trading down from like 6 to 15 could land you lay a second round and perhaps a third round, in which case you would get like not an elite wide receiver prospect, but really good one, and some other player to fix some other holes that this team definitely has. For example, cornerback room. Spoiler alert. But that didn't happen. Let's talk about the guys that are here. So it's Dexter Lawrence, it's Brian Burns, it's Kevin Thibodeau. These three are going to be nightmare. If I'm like tuning up to watch Giants footballs, these three are the reason. Then it's Brian Daboll and Mike Neighbors. Other than that, this team is not that much to be excited to watch. Okay, there's another player that is excited, and that's Bobby Okereke. I repeat, Okereke. Who doesn't know the reference, I recommend to you check the way he was drafted by Pat McAfee. It was really one of the best draft announcements ever. And he actually developed into a really nice player. Unfortunately for Pat McAfee and for the Colts, he is a really nice player for the Giants. They signed him last offseason to a decent chunk of money, and he absolutely lived up to that contract. What he is like 10th to 12th best linebacker in the league, absolutely deserving the money, captain of this group, really good player, someone you are super happy to have in the room. Next to him, Isaiah Simmons, Micah McFadden. They have a complementary skill set. There is like high draft pedigree for Isaiah Simmons, but it's been a couple of years. As linebacker too, you could do worse, I guess. Yeah, you could do worse, but you could do absolutely better. As like the room, it's middle of the pack, nicely orchestrated, nothing you should be worried about, not necessarily something you should consider a strength of this team. So really well balanced room with one really good player in Bobby Okereke. Then we take a look at the safety room that obviously lost Xavier McKinney, and there is a hole behind him. Let's put it this way. Tyler Nubin, I already said, I understand the draft because you had even bigger hole without him. He should step up and be, I would say, adequate starter, someone you are not like terribly worried about, but also not a player that I do expect to. I'm sorry, I'm checking some of my notes for him. not necessarily a player that should, like year one or even year two, I do not expect him to become anything special. Like, can he develop into impactful starter? Yeah, I see that in his trajectory. More likely, I would say he's going to be a good starter, which again is good return. So I do not hate this draft pick, but just the value of good starter when there were good starters in terms of free agency that you can get for not that much of a money. Rather, maybe I'd rather have them, but do I understand we are in developing process, we are in sort of rebuild within some trying to win type of window. So okay, I am not really against Tyler Nubin. The idea, Jason Pinnock, he's converted cornerback, really had a nice season last year, but right now he needs to step up as like the better of the two. It's not like he can count on Xavier McKinney to be a mentor, to be that guy in the room. And Jalen Mills, one of the like seriously nice backups in the league. So if Tyler Nubin just cannot figure it out, you can turn to Jalen Mills. You should not know the difference in terms of like current ability. But overall, this is bad room. Like let's put it this way: it's bad room. Like it's one of the worst safety duos and trios in the league. And unfortunately for them, it's not like your cornerbacks are better than that. So your best player is Deontay Banks, who had his up and downs as a rookie, but overall it was not bad or horrendous rookie season. It was not Emmanuel Forbes type of rookie season. And play a rookie to play as a cornerback in the league, especially in the division when you are facing CeeDee Lamb, when you're facing Terry McLaurin, when you're facing AJ Brown, it's going to show on your numbers, right? But even with that being the case, his grade against passing, like when he was targeted, the grade was only 84.7, so that's under the average. He was kind of good in terms of coverage, though his grade is below average. So quite solid rookie season, and definitely a guy that you expect to grow up and grown up in terms of my rankings and in terms of his abilities. Second year. Also, he has a really charming smile. Like he generally looks like a guy that is just happy to be playing out there, and that's something you definitely love. Corner slot, well, pretty much also counts for Drew Phillips. You are starting 3 players that are kind of in their first, second seasons, and you hope they will develop. That's a huge ask for them because they don't have any mentor. They don't have anyone reliable to rely on, even in the secondary. Like you are starting so many like new pieces. Like your most experienced guys, converted corner, now playing safety, being a decent starter, and still like one of the younger players in the like overall in terms of NFL scheme. So it's like okay, we just take all of the young guns and let them out there to figure it out. It could be ugly. It could really be ugly, just as with Evan Neal and John Michael Schmidt. This could turn really poorly, and there's really not much that they can do mid-season to like reconcile it, to like get it on track. They don't have those guys in the locker room. They would have to acquire them via trade, but are you really acquiring a good cornerback at trade deadline if you are 1-6? You are not. So they are running with it. This is who their secondary is most likely going to be the whole season. Good luck, guys. Like I'm all for young talent. I think like if there is a year to just go for this approach, this is the year for Giants. Like they don't really have that much to lose, right? Good luck. Good luck, that's what I'm going to say for you. So that was your Giants roster rundown. Now let's talk about floor. Now let's talk about the upside of this team and where they are heading. So let's say that this year their ambition should be develop, and figure out what you have in a lot of young players. Evan Neal, John Michael Schmitz, pretty much the whole secondary. Can Daniel Jones improve when he has actually a really good number one wide receiver? Can he recover from injury? Is like Theo Johnson, Daniel Bellinger, is it our future? So you have shit ton of questions, and answering them should be what you are trying to do this season. It should not necessarily be to go for best possible results, because first, you are not winning your division. It's really freaking hard with two powerhouses in terms of Cowboys and Eagles. And yeah, there's just not a playoff upside for this team. Let's put it this way. So let's work your magic, Brian Dable. Let's develop these young pieces, and let's hope that in 2 years those young pieces are great, and either Daniel Jones is good enough to be like a quarterback you can win with, guy that's good starter, that with a right cast around him can be effective, and with like great coach on the bench, or he's gone and you've drafted your successor in next year's draft. That's the hope. That's where like Giants should be looking for if they want to like dream about upside of this team. They should be prepared that this season could look ugly. When I say ugly, I think like their floor is actually 3 wins, because it could be that O-line just absolutely sucks with John Michael Schmitz, Evan Neal, or Adam Steeney. Like there's Andrew Thomas, and that's not enough if those guys like are completely bad. And the secondary could be even worse because you don't have Andrew Thomas there. Like it's pretty much similar situation without the best piece. So floor 3 wins. I guess you should be able to walk towards winning against Washington once, and like Brian Dable should be good enough to like make you win at least 2 more games. But is it really like controversial to say that if they go 3-14, I won't be surprised? Because there's so many holes in this team that, or not holes, like so many question marks, and also like Daniel Jones. If we get what we got early last year, what we got in preseason, he's going to get benched, and Drew Lock or Tommy DeVito are going to be like the worst starting QBs in the league. So I think 3 wins, despite several positive things that this team has, is the reality that they could face. What's the upside? I don't see them like winning more than 7 games. Division is hard. I don't think you have weaponry. I don't think you are just well equipped. To win more than 7 games would mean that everything went your way, which, given how many things are we talking about, that's just not within my like 90% confidence interval, which puts Giants right between 3 and 7 wins. Should you be worried about that? Not necessarily, because like I said, this year should be about establishing the line as the identity of your team and developing young pieces. That's all. Bleak vision, but I don't think there's going to be many Giants fans that would like hardly disagree with me on it. It's unfortunate, but I think it's true. So thank you very much for listening, for tuning up, for watching. If you agree, if you disagree, let me know now in the comment. Let me know if you are equally excited about the trio of Kayvon Thibodeau, Brian Burns, and Dexter Lawrence to watch, because I think that's why you should turn up Giants football this season. And see you guys with the next one. Bye!